From an upbringing with mixed blessings of poverty and wealth emerged one William Henry Holtzclaw. Poverty because he was often hungry, scant of clothing, and living in poor shelter. Wealth because his parents, Jerry and Addie Holtzclaw, though illiterate, struggled to teach their children the value of honesty, integrity, self-worth, and an education. In the TV documentary Rise and Fall of Jim Crow, grandson Herschel Holtzclaw Lee tells of his great-grandparents' efforts to get their children educated.
The overseer would come around and would say, "Where are those boys?" And he would get upset. So in order to make sure that that didn't happen, she'd send one to school and leave one at home to do the work.
William developed into a young man hungry and thirsty for knowledge and understanding. Born in 1870 near Roanoke, Randolph County, Alabama at the close of Reconstruction, Holtzclaw was in the right state to stumble upon a Tuskegee Institute newsletter around age 19 and eventually get admitted to the Tuskegee Industrial Education Program by age 20. The founder and Hampton Institute graduate, Dr. Booker T. Washington, started the school to help Negroes learn to improve their conditions in life. Dr. Shirley Davis shared one of Holtzclaw's initial experiences at Tuskegee during her interview for the Rise and Fall of Jim Crow documentary.
He was also amazed as to how they organized the students in the dormitory setting, particularly himself, because he had never slept between two sheets. And when he went to the dorm, he was sleeping, as they say, ready roll. He had all of his clothes on, and someone had to come in and tell him that you have such a thing as a night shirt.
After 8 years of studying and working as office helper and buggy driver for Booker T. Washington, Holtzclaw left Tuskegee with a strong admiration for Washington and a firm belief that his task would be to lift the burden of ignorance from Negroes in rural areas.
William Holtzclaw believed that Mississippi would afford him the perfect setting and opportunity to help the Negro. He journeyed to the Mississippi Delta, hoping to find a place to put into practice the teachings of Tuskegee. After being spurned in several Delta locales, Holtzclaw went to Utica, Mississippi in 1902. Young Holtzclaw rode a bicycle into the town, but the burdensome bike was sold to a little Negro boy for an Ingersoll pocket watch and $2. He was hired as principal and teacher of the school at St. Peter Baptist Church. The next few years were eventful ones for Holtzclaw. He founded the Utica Normal and Industrial Institute for Colored Men and Women in 1903. The school was located in a rented log cabin, which also served as the family home and the home for the first two students. In this same year, Holtzclaw organized the Education Association to keep the people interested in the school. He was elected president.
He organized a quartet of singers to take on tour and help raise funds to keep the school afloat. He also organized the farmers' conferences to help Negroes learn practical agricultural techniques. Dr. George Washington Carver, the Tuskegee teacher and scientist, frequented Holtzclaw home and these conferences and gave speeches to the farmers to help them increase their produce. Holtzclaw learned that Negroes outnumbered whites in the area 7-1, and that many Negroes were landowners. He realized that in order to empower the Negro people to become financially independent, he had to encourage the community to become intimately involved in the school. So he started the Teachers Extension movement, which involved teachers and himself in demonstrating that they could better their condition by using their earnings to buy land, to build modern multi-room cottages, and to overcome indebtedness. To enhance the Teachers Extension movement, he organized the Black Belt Improvement Society to encourage Negroes to put their children in school, support education, become property owners, and gradually upgrade their economic situations. To lead by example, Holtzclaw built a 5-room cottage for his family by 1905. He got a loan from a Tuskegee special fund. This cabin later served as overnight accommodations for Booker T. Washington during his visit in 1908.
By 1908-1909, the Institute was well underway and had over 25 faculty and over 500 students. One faculty member, also a Tuskegee graduate, was Lawrence Jones, who in 1909 founded the Piney Woods Country Life School in Piney Woods, Mississippi. Holding to the tenets of the Black Belt Improvement Society's 10 degrees, and with a large donation from the estate of B.F. Ginn, Holtzclaw and the trustees of the Institute purchased 2,000 acres of land 5 miles southwest of the town of Utica at a cost of $25,000 in 1909. He bought the plantation mansion for his residence and sold 400 acres of land to Institute teachers so they could build cottages and own land. By 1910, the Institute was in operation on the new site off Highway 18. The school, in various incarnations, has operated at this location since that time. With the publication of his book, The Black Man's Burden, in 1915, Holtzclaw became one of the first Negroes in Mississippi to have a published work. The book recounted Holtzclaw's struggles and experiences to develop the Institute through 1914. By this time, he and his wife, Mary Ella Holtzclaw, had 5 children. William Sidney, born in Snow Hill, Alabama, had died of pneumonia at 6 months of age. Robert Fulton, born in 1903, when the Institute was born, would later write a book on his father, William Henry Holtzclaw, scholar in Ebony, and publish it in 1977. Jerry Herbert, born in 1905. Alice Marie, born in 1907. Ella Adeline, born in 1909, and William Jr., born in 1911, the one who would take the helm of the Institute upon his father's death and carry forth as head for 4 years. Mrs. Mary Ella Holtzclaw started the first post office at the Institute in 1913. She was also Dean of Girls and Holtzclaw's companion on many of his fundraising trips to the North and East. The Institute offered a variety of programs, including farming, brick masonry, furniture making and carpentry, printing, laundering, and others. By 1916, the school showcased an officers' corps. At this time, Dr. Washington had died, and Dr. Robert Moten, also a graduate and commandant of Hampton Institute, was principal at Tuskegee. He visited the campus around 1918 at the close of World War I and was well received by students who lined the street into the campus. By 1926, the Utica Jubilee Singers had their own special bus in which to travel when touring. The school had a nursing program and a hospital, which had been made from a cotton gin, up until 1935, when it was destroyed by a tornado. Holtzclaw adhered to the Tuskegee credo of head, heart, hands. The school addressed the whole person. A sports program was a vital part of student life. The Institute boasted a football and a basketball team by 1929.
All of Holtzclaw's children went to Utica Institute. He lived to see all complete college, and all worked at the Institute upon completing college. At various points in time, his brother, stepbrother, sister, and other relatives worked at the Institute. His mother also lived at the Institute. She supervised the chicken farm, attended school, and graduated from the Utica Institute at age 94. One boy from the learned community, Richard Morrison, graduated from Utica Institute in 1927. Guided by Dr. George Washington Carver, he also went to Tuskegee and to other institutions until he obtained the doctorate degree in agriculture. He became a faculty member and eventually president of Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical Institute in Normal, Alabama. He is retired and presently lives in Normal, Alabama.
Supporters of Holtzclaw's efforts were honored whenever buildings were constructed. Washington Hall, Jewett Memorial Hall, Ginn Memorial Hall, Payne Hall were all named for those who contributed financially and morally to the school's development. These buildings no longer stand on the campus. The remaining building, Holtzclaw Mansion, is yet to be restored, but the future looks promising for the restoration and preservation of this building. Many of the community people who served as Holtzclaw's anchor during those eventful development years are now honored by having buildings on campus named for them. Mr. D.W.L. Davis, Mr. Ples McCadney, Mr. Vertus Walker, Reverend B.E. Lewis, Mr. H. Shine Davis, and others. Holtzclaw Memorial Library stands in the founder's honor, and within the library, the Holtzclaw Jr. Black Heritage Collection and Archives stand in this second Institute principal's honor.
In his last speech to the students in April 1943, Mr. Holtzclaw summarized his life's purpose. I do not wish to leave the impression that my life has been one round of pleasure. It has not. I have certainly had my share of trouble, but the object before me has always loomed so large as to eclipse all minor difficulties. I have no time for minor notes. I have long since determined that the tune of my life shall be played in major keys. For this cause I live. For this cause I suffer. For this cause I shall give my life.